Hey everyone, my name is Farid Noori. I'm from Afghanistan, and today I'm presenting to you my social venture, which is Mountain Bike Afghanistan, short for MTB Afghanistan. And the mission statement is there. We empower Afghan youth with the joy of riding and competing on mountain bikes, and we connect people across borders for their shared love of cycling. And so throughout this presentation, you'll get to know what that mission statement means and what it will look like in action. So I'll start providing a little bit of a background info. So the question is, why mountain biking? And you might ask this as well. If you want to empower young Afghans, for example, the United Nations has a lot of goals. Education is one of them, health is another one. But for me personally, sports empowerment is a really important part of getting an army of young people, regardless of where they are, energized about their potential. And just a fun fact, 65% of the Afghan population are under the age of 25. So we're an incredibly young population, but because of the challenges that you're familiar with, mainly the conflicts, the insecurity, and poverty, there's very few opportunities for young people to truly tap into their potential and talent. And so I would like to offer mountain biking. Again, why mountain biking? So one of the reasons this project is really endearing to me is we're about dispelling myths. Now, this is maybe an image of Afghanistan that most people are familiar with. There are American troops on the ground. They're fighting the bad guys. Afghanistan looks dusty, destroyed, ruined, and it's a desert. So now there are two important things that are important myths, which are true to a certain extent that I just said. The first one is Afghanistan is a country of war. That's the only thing people know about Afghanistan. The second thing is Afghanistan is a sand desert. Now here, I'm going to tell you a different story. And that story is that Afghanistan is one of the most mountainous countries on the face of Earth. Back in the 70s, before the conflicts began in Afghanistan, Afghanistan was called the Switzerland of Asia. And actually, Afghanistan's mountains are taller than the ones in the Alps. And I'll give you an idea of what that looks like. So are you ready? There we go. So like I said, Afghanistan is the most mountainous country on earth. This is my friend Buman. He hiked one of the very popular but not highest peaks in Afghanistan at 17,000 foot or above. Now, to give you an idea of how tall that mountain is, in Colorado, the highest peak goes up above 14,000 foot. They're called 14ers, but this one is 3,000 foot, even higher. And the highest mountain in Afghanistan is actually 24,500 foot. So the idea that Afghanistan is just a sand desert is incredibly wrong. This is where I was born. This is the country that I recognize. Where the conflicts happen is where it gets projected in the media. And then that's what you see that's what people around the world see and have this really dark, gloomy picture of Afghanistan. Now, the conflict aspect is true. Afghanistan is engaged in a war, but that's also what mountain biking is going to do, is to try to encourage peacemaking through sports. So the fundamental idea, now I want you to think about what I just said about Afghanistan having an image of a war-torn country, as well as a country that is a sand desert. That myth, that wrong image, has important implications. It has important effects globally inside Afghanistan. So the fundamental idea that Mountain Bike Afghanistan has is this line, basically. You can read it. Our image of other countries directly affect the way people of those nations see themselves. So if we project a positive outlook of any country, from Spain to the United States, the people of those countries internalize that positive image, and that's how they feel when they travel around the world, when they're in the airports in Dubai. If everyone said Americans are retarded and obese, that is obviously not true. But if that was the message that was being sent around the world, it wouldn't feel great to be an American in, say, Dubai International Airport. So the image that I've constantly gotten in my 10 years in the United States is that as soon as I mention I'm from Afghanistan, people feel sad. People, bring these negative images, and it makes me sad internally. So the conclusion is that a positive image boosts the morale of people from different nations, while a negative image has the adverse effect and it impedes progress. It prevents progress. It lowers the morale in people. And while this is true, this is an image of Afghanistan. These are school children in a destroyed area, but it's a powerful image. They don't have a classroom, but they're sitting there studying. And so when we say a country is going through a lot of conflict, we're not projecting the full story, because while that is true, there's also a lot of motivation and positive energy that gets ignored. So boosting a positive image for a country is really, really important. And that's where Mountain Bike Afghanistan comes in. So how we began the journey. I came to the United States 10 years ago for high school. And right at the end of my high school, I came across mountain biking by pure chance. Before that, I wanted to go home and become a politician. I wanted to, become a parliamentarian, and like everyone else, maybe destroy the country. But then I stepped on a bike by accident, and I went up the hill and came down, and I had the most fun ever in my life. Now that says a lot about somebody who's grown up in a conflict area, because looking back in my life, I've gone through a lot of challenges that were far greater than myself, and happiness and play and fun is the thing that you need the most. So I personally felt empowered. I'd never experienced this adrenaline rush in my body. But the thing that I was thinking about when I was coming down that mountain was like, if this is mountain biking, why is this not in Afghanistan? Thinking about the vast, huge, monstrous mountains back home. So that's when I got the idea to start this project, to bring mountain biking to Afghanistan, to empower young people so that they can, become very successful in the sport, in the world-class level. When you have Afghans competing in the Olympics, competing in the biggest events in the world, that in itself changes the image of the country, and it inspires a lot of young Afghans. But then by bringing mountain biking to Afghanistan, you're also advertising this beautiful country that very few people know in that way. So in college, I raced mountain biking. I still am an Olympic hopeful. I keep training with the goal to qualify in the Olympics, and as well as learning a lot along the journey, so I can share that knowledge with young people back home who are trying to do the same thing. So in 2018, while I was in college, far away from home, and I cannot really go home because of visa challenges, I wanted to figure out a way to share my passion with young Afghans. So I founded Mountain Bike Afghanistan from my dorm room. And I connected with a local group of riders who were already really stoked on riding, but they didn't have the equipment, the knowledge. So I connected with them and then started sharing resources as well as knowledge about how this is done. And this group became basically my task force on the ground. I still have to meet these people, by the way. And nowadays, virtual work is being really popular. But Mountain Bike Afghanistan was doing virtual work before virtual work was even, hot, before COVID. I basically send instructions to these people on WhatsApp. We work on Facebook Messenger, Google Docs, and that's how we've been operating. But in the same year that we founded, we launched the first Hindu Kush Mountain Bike Challenge, which is the first mountain bike race ever in Afghanistan. And it was wildly successful. We had 50 riders who showed up. 12 of whom were women. And this is really important. I was not expecting to see this, but 12 women showed up to the race in a place where it's a very male-dominated society. Amnesty International has repetitively rated Afghanistan as the worst place to be a woman. I'm not denying this. I've grown up there. I've seen the taboo against women's presence in public, but we had 12 brave riders show up, and this is one of the girls. As you can see, most of the spectators are men, and they're seeing this. And the bike, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful tools for freedom, because all it takes is for you as an individual to get on the bike, pedal forward, and you pedal and it takes you far and forward wherever you can go and would you like to go. So as soon as we realize this, we've been working on trying to use the bike as a tool for women's empowerment in Afghanistan. So last week, we just concluded the third Hindu Kush Mountain Bike Challenge. This is the race has ever grown. This was last week in Afghanistan's Bamyan province. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the programs that we have. So far, we've been organizing an annual race, but we also have a program called Sponsor a Trail. Now, if you are in the sport of cycling, or if you own a bike, you know how expensive the bikes are. So does it make sense to bring us an expensive sport like this to Afghanistan, where people are poor and maybe the money they earn in a year is not even enough to buy a bike that would satisfy competition-wise? So that's where our innovative idea, Sponsor a Trail, comes in. It's basically Earn Your Bike program. The way it works is we find sponsors around the United States and around the world. $1,000, hypothetically, $1,000 sponsors construction of 1 kilometer of trail, mountain biking trail, hiking trail, which we then take that $1,000, we invest it in a mountain bike, and then we go to Afghanistan. There are a lot of kids who want to ride, but they don't have the bike. So we give this mountain bike to them. In return, what they do is go out and build the trails that they then also train and ride on. And this way, you're also building mountain biking infrastructure in the country, which helps with the growth of adventure tourism, growth of local economy, and these guys serving as the guide. So we've started a pilot program of the Sponsored Trail in Kabul, at the outskirts of the capital city. It is 5 kilometers right now. We're working with a team of high school students who've all gotten their bikes, boys and girls, and they go once a week, try to build a mountain biking park outside of Kabul, which, if successful, will become the first ever mountain biking park in Afghanistan. I will, just so that you might, if you're interested in starting your own organization, I will give you an idea of the structure. I'm the founder. I direct the program, volunteer director, obviously. And I have a distinguished board of directors who are ex-professional cyclists, people in business, a healthy mix of Afghans and Americans, just to tap into the vast network of them in each country, because it is really important. You're going to come across a lot of challenges, especially like operating in countries like Afghanistan. For instance, Shamila and Mustafa, who are on the board of directors from Afghanistan, they've been instrumental in getting government partnership, local partnership, things like that. And so what will the future look like? Mountain Bike Afghanistan has a very, very ambitious goal. It wants to make Afghanistan the fairy tale of mountain biking. Think about Kenya. Kenya, while a country as, let's call it backward, for lack of a good word, and also conflict-ridden like Afghanistan, is also popular for something else, and that is distance running. Kipchoge, the world's fastest distance runners, come from Kenya. All it takes is for a program to spark the enthusiasm. The enthusiasm is already down on the ground in Afghanistan. What Mountain Bike Afghanistan is doing is to provide infrastructure and resources for these potential talents to come to fruition. And but Mountain Bike Afghanistan is not just about competition. It is using competition to inspire, and then there's also other huge social impact from cycling that I mentioned already: women's empowerment, ecotourism, branding the country around its incredible natural outdoor and natural beauty, and generating local revenue. And yeah, help us bring this Afghanistan to the world. You can find out more on mtbafghanistan.org. You can also follow on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. We're not on TikTok. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And in there, you can also send an email if you need to get in touch with me. I look forward to connecting to anybody who's interested. Thank you.
This is awesome. Well, you are also answering questions during your presentation. So holistic, and thank you so much for the presentation. It's very clear, and yeah, and it's awesome. It's just like really awesome. Very inspiring, very inspiring. Thank you so much for the work you're doing also. I'm also working with Sports for Peace, but more sports for peace with disabilities. Yeah, so I really will have things to talk about later also. So yeah, just I will ask one question, not to take more time of you. So I wanted to know, so what helped you to make the first step? So from this first idea you had till the project you have now, what was the first step and what helped you to make it so that the project was born?
Mm-hmm. You know, it's a lot of it is like the intrinsic motivation. So for the, you know, in my time in the US, because I said people have had a very wrong image of Afghanistan, that's always been kind of like, oh man, like I wish I could show people a different side of Afghanistan. And so when I landed on this and I really liked it, I mean, it was very quick. All it took for me is to ride down a mountain on a mountain bike, and then, you know, the aha moment. First, becoming an expert in the subject yourself. I'm continuing to be a good mountain biker. I'm not. Every day is a learning curve. And then making friends, making connections. Don't be afraid of talking loud. I've cold called so many people on LinkedIn. For instance, Ted King here on my board of directors is a former professional cyclist who was raced in the Tour de France. I cold called this person and he responded. So whatever it takes to make your idea happen, if you really love the idea, you're going to make it happen. I think that I cannot give you a step 1, step 2, step 3. All it takes is, you know, a passion and a belief in your idea, and you can go from there.
Thank you. Thank you. Liz, do you have?
I have one question. Well, I had some of them, but first of all, I have to tell you that Farid, it gave me goosebump your presentation. Like, it was amazing, and I have no idea how you come up with this. It's incredible, and I congratulate you so much, because what you are doing is such a creative idea, and you're creating such a great value, social value to your country and to everybody that wants to know about Afghanistan and then everything that it has to provide. So thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for your time. And so one of the things that I was wondering is, whenever you have a social idea and then you want to apply that into social innovation and entrepreneurship, you sometimes have this really good idea, but then you might have like struggles trying to communicate that idea or that solution to the community that you're targeting. So my question is, so was there like a type of like learning curve between your idea and Afghans in the way that mountain biking was an empowerment tool for them to feel more empowered and create a better picture? So like, was there a learning curve for them to understand that was a tool for them, or was it like an easy type of communication for them to start engaging with you?
Very good question. I think the you know, the interest was already in the ground in Mountain Bike Afghanistan's case, as I started seeing more people riding. The thing to, you know, kind of, you know, bring them from just riding bikes to a kind of higher level to think big, is really knowing the weakness on the ground and then turning that into a source of empowerment. So one of the things, an example is the reason we started with the race. Now, Mountain Bike Afghanistan, wants to bring tourism, like I said, and things like that. If we did all of those things first, the idea wouldn't have taken off as quickly, because we had to figure out a way that was fun and exciting and that would get people stoked about mountain bikes. So hence we started with a competition. We gave it a good name. Hindu Kush is the name of the mountain range in Afghanistan, and it comes from the Himalayas. And the Afghans are proud about our, you can sense it. I'm proud of our mountains. So we gave it the name Mountain Bike Challenge, and they love challenges. Like I said earlier, the Afghan youth are the most passionate yet underserved young people around the world because of the challenges. So they're hungry. They're hungry for any opportunity that they can show. Yeah, we do this too on Hindu Kush Mountain soil. So that's what the race provided. And then I didn't include this picture in the slide, but there's another picture from the race where people are actually on mountaintop watching. Like you can count their heads like little ants on the hills. And in a place where the other thing is in Afghanistan, it's such a challenging environment that fun community things like this is rare. People don't really come out of their homes because of security reasons and things like that. So when you throw an event like this, everyone is looking for an opportunity to just forget about the war and have fun. And so that's what we use to capitalize. And now to answer your question, as I'm introducing Sponsor a Trail, which is our innovative idea to get around cost as a barrier of entry, that idea, communicating that idea that, okay, you build a kilometer of trail, I'm gonna give you a bike, is difficult. Some kids are like, well, why don't you just give me the bike? Why do I have to go build a trail? And then to have them, I was actually having this conversation with my team today. So you constantly have to push them to adopt it. Certain aspects are definitely more challenging, but you have to figure out a way, just find something that creates a lot of buzz in the beginning, and then you can go into some, more technical and maybe boring parts of the project.
Farid, thank you so much. That was amazing, and I really appreciate you answered the entire question, so that was perfect. I really appreciate your time and your commitment to this. This is really, really good, and congratulations for this. And if you ever need help, just let me know.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. For the students, if they're still watching, I assume, if you are interested in supporting, Mountain Bike Afghanistan has a online shop. You can get a lot of merchandise. We have Halloween pumpkin themed sweater as well. So this Halloween, you could hang around the woods, pit fires and things like that, wearing the MTB Afghanistan sweater and showing why you care. So thank you guys for really giving me the platform to talk, and really enjoyed